Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 77 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. Today, Kris and I are joined by special guest Sam Kotch from AccrueMe. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? Appreciate having me on.
Oh,
thanks for joining us.
Yeah, this is always fascinating to us to talk about different aspects of the Amazon space, and funding is a huge part of it. And it's really valuable to all the people that are listening, all the Amazon sellers. I mean, we know, Kris and I know, we've been there. We've launched on a shoestring budget our Amazon business, and all of a sudden you can't keep up. You need capital. And so we'll just be glad to talk about all the different things that you guys offer with AccrueMe, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. If anybody's watching this right now on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, feel free to throw a question in the comments section. We'll get those out to Sam if you throw them in there. So please do that. But just to get a little started here, Sam, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get into the Amazon space and get hooked up with AccrueMe?
Sure. Yeah. So again, thanks guys for having me on, and everyone who's taking the time to watch this. I got started when I first got out of college. My brother and I started a small investment company, basically all the savings we had, and we went in and we actually helped a private company go public, and it was like in the marijuana space, and it was kind of a crazy story. So we ended up doing really well. It was during the marijuana.com, like basically stock boom. We did well. So we tried to replicate that and basically find companies that want to go public and then do acquisitions to grow really quickly. So we did that for about a year and a half. Very hard replicating that model, finding good companies, good managers to give money to. And then we came across a guy that was doing Amazon. He was a wholesale FBA seller, and we couldn't believe that. We thought Amazon, they did all the sales. We didn't know there were third-party sellers, just like probably pretty much everyone else out there. Came to realize that 60% or whatever the number is are actually third-party sellers or private label sellers or their own small brands. Thought it was fascinating. Acquired this company, started growing it, and then I ran into Don and Eric at this investor event in New York. Started telling Don about AccrueMe. He was not AccrueMe, about Amazon and how amazing it is. And he was in retirement. He goes, that's the most amazing thing. He started running, spreadsheets and financials and numbers and stuff, very big finance background and mortgage and stuff like that, and ran all the numbers. At Sam, there's some great opportunities out there for funding. You can borrow $10,000 and pay back $11,000 and, all that stuff. But then he actually ran the numbers, and it's really all just marketing. The short term, you really can't keep up unless you're doing really well. So then we all put our heads together. How can we actually help an Amazon seller grow? We all have business backgrounds. We all know how important financing is for your business. Once you crack the code and you work with someone like Solozo and you know how to do PPC and sell profitably, how do you scale? You need capital once you kind of crack that code. So we said, well, why don't we partner with them? Instead of making it like a traditional loan or equity investment, how can we make this really unique? So we came up with a temporary profit share where we'll give you money. We'll double the capital that you have in your inventory and use it to grow and keep investing in good products, and we'll get a share of the profit. So and what makes this really unique is there's no required payments. So we want you to keep our money in the business. Keep as much money in the business as you can, grow rapidly, and then when you're ready for either a sale or you just don't need our capital anymore, pay us down and we go on our merry way. So that's what we've done, and we've been helping Amazon sellers since. It's been a great journey. So that's kind of the short version of it.
Well, I'm going to dive into a little bit of those things here in a second. But also, we had Don on earlier. He's tons of energy. He was excited and passionate about this project when you brought it to him. And I was talking the last time we had them on. I was mentioning, for sellers, I don't think people realize how critical this type of financing is. Because and I told the story of how I lost my shirt with traditional types of financing. Went back, many, many years ago when this kind of sort of e-commerce specific type financing wasn't there, because the payback terms and the way you have to make these large chunk payments just don't work for this type of business. So it's really cool. But I want to dive into a lot more of that as we go. But I wanted to point out, so early on, you acquired an Amazon business yourself. So you were doing acquisitions before it was cool.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So while we were trying to do that, we realized it was really hard. And then we saw the Amazon space and just how many of these, smaller business owners, whether they were wholesale or private label, that were obviously entrepreneurs and sophisticated. They were able to start a business, which is hard enough, but they were using the Amazon platform and tools like Solozo and a bunch of other, ways to grow. And we said, this is really the prime market because they do need capital. We can really help these guys more than, someone that's like a sophisticated, one of these finance guys that's going to, I know everything. I'm going to get a 5% credit line or whatever it is. So we saw this was really an exciting place for us to be, and we could add a lot more value than what we were doing. So
one thing I want to talk about, and for those listening, that's episode 44 where we had Don on and Rob talking about. So that's back a while. We've thrown out some episodes since then, but that's a good episode to listen to. But one thing that I want to talk about that's a little bit different is what do you guys do differently? Like, Dustin and I know, but what makes you different from other traditional lending out there that sellers can go get? I think it's unique, and if you could share, like, what makes you guys different, that'd be awesome.
Sure. So yeah, I think what makes us really unique is one, we really do care about our sellers. We have calls, like Don and I just had a phone call with one of our sellers today. He was doing private label. We got him into wholesale. He's doing his first order, a big $10,000 order. He ran everything by us. We helped him analyze it. We'll take the time, Don and I, who had a bunch of other calls, but we're happy to help him throughout the process. So I think that's one. But what really makes us unique for growing your business, if you don't need any other help, you have it figured out, you just need capital, is we don't require payments. So there's no set schedule. Once we give you the money, if you don't want to pay us for 6 months, a year, 18 months, you don't have to. And we actually just did a case study, and we did it for our first seller partner. And they, by not making payments for 18 months, they had a profitable business already. They were growing, but by not having to make payments, by doubling their capital, they went from like $10,000 in profit in year one to 18 months later. I think they did just over $110,000 in profit in 2 years. So you could see they went from 10 to 110. Pretty incredible. And they'll tell you, yeah, they had a great business, but by not having to make the payments, they could keep it all in there and really grow really quickly and focus on their business. So I think we really want to help people by not requiring monthly payments. You pay us when it's right for you and when it's right for your business. And 3, we only make money if you make money. So, a bank or a loan or all these other options, they're going to make money no matter what. They have it baked in. They're always going to win. With us, we only win when our sellers win. So, if our sellers are doing awesome, we're going to do awesome. If our sellers have a bad month, we're going to have a bad month. Like during COVID, a few of our sellers were not essential, private label towels or candles, stuff they couldn't send in. They didn't have any inventory. They were losing money. They were breaking even. And these were big sellers, $1 million plus sellers. And they didn't have to make any payments to us. And in those months where they made nothing, we made nothing. So they'll tell you, hey, if we were working with a traditional loan, we would have been behind and, it could have been lights off at the business. So that's, I think what makes us unique is no required payments, and we only make money when you make money as a seller. So
yeah. This is why I find this so fascinating, because I was almost turned the lights off because of the traditional lending setup that I had back in the day. And I think when somebody hears that, no payments for 2 years, how does this work? Doesn't make sense. It's like, how can I get the money and not make payments for 2 years? Explain how that payback process works.
Sure.
For the sellers.
Sure. Yeah. So, we really designed this for growth. And what we did was, once we basically, myself, Don, a few of the other founders, we put in just our own capital to start. Like the one I was just telling you that went from 10 to 110. We had really no idea. We invested in them. We had very basic documents. We had no technology at all. And the technology is a big reason why we're able to do this. But we just invested and it ended up working out well. But we had no idea. Are people going to ever pay us? Are we going to make our money back? Or are we going to lose all our money? We ended up not losing money with everybody. Everybody loved us. And we said, we have to go out now, raise capital. We did from a big hedge fund in New York. We raised $100 million to invest. And the way that the payback works is really simple. We invest a certain amount of your business. In most cases, we double the capital. If you have $100,000 in inventory at cost at Amazon, we'll give you another $100,000 to buy more of that good inventory to start generating an ROI on it. We track everything through our AccrueMe portal. So what you have, we see it day by day. We attach your Amazon API, so we're tracking all the sales, we're tracking the inventory, we're tracking the profit and loss. And basically, you can just decide, at the end of the month, there's a certain amount of profit. We get a certain share based on how much capital we represent. The seller always gets the lion's share. And you can say, hey, I want to pay you your accrued profit this month, or just roll it over. And it basically just stays, it's like a little tally. AccrueMe just added, $600 to their capital that they invested. And at the end of 18 months, it might be, instead of, let's say we invested 100,000, it might be 115,000. Well, you can start then making bigger installment payments, or we've had people that just have so much cash at the end of it, they'll just pay it off in one shot. And then they go back to owning 100% of the profits and, either selling or just having a much larger business. So it's really flexible. It's all tracked through our portal, so you can see exactly what our profit is at all times. And you have access to that, and you decide when you want to pay us.
So
go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, I just want to get this real clear. So essentially, as long as we have the money, you get a percentage of the profits. And as soon as it's paid back, that percentage goes away.
Exactly.
That's it in a nutshell, right?
That's it. Yep. That's well said. That's very well distilled. That's perfect. Yep.
And this is SKU based. This is an entire account based. Like if I want to fund just individual products, I can pick those products. I don't have to get the entire funding for the whole account. Is that right?
Right. So you don't have to do that. We have some sellers that want to just say, hey, I just want to include these 5 units or these 5 ASINs and SKUs. And then we can exclude the rest in our system, which means we don't give you credit for it, but we also don't get a profit. But most people, if it's an existing product that's profitable, they almost always want to just include everything in, because that means they're getting a higher amount of capital, a higher profit share. The minimum that the seller gets at all times is 75%. It can only be 75 or higher. So it's 75. Most people are like 85 the seller gets in profit, but they include everything because they want more capital for us to invest. And they want to just have more capital included so we can invest more and they get a higher share of the profit.
So, we've been burned before. Dustin and I have been burned before. And, sometimes the thing sounds so good to be, it's not, there's a catch somewhere, right? Like, we've done the traditional lending and I'm always waiting for that guy to show up and take my knees out. Like, so I'm trying to figure out, like, and I you can correct me if I'm wrong, but where's the catch at? I know I'm hearing and understanding that you're sharing the profit, but there's got to be somewhere, like, and this is just my traditional cautious thing. There's got to be somewhere where, like, if I don't do something right or if something goes wrong, I'm on the hook for something. Like, am I missing anything?
Yeah, so there really is no catch, and we hear it all the time because this is totally different and unique. I mean, you guys are successful business owners. You've gone through the ropes and you've seen all the funding options out there. It's totally new, even to just finance people. We talk to hedge funds all the time. They just don't get how you could do this. And I think what allows us to do this is because we're getting a share of the profit. We're, really aligned with the seller. If a seller does really well that we work with, we're going to do really, really well, better than a bank would do. So, having that ability for you as a seller to not make payments where it's not as stable as a loan, there's a little bit more upside for us. We're giving you that flexibility, but we end up doing much better than a bank would. But also, in the case if you don't do well, Kris, we're going to do really well too. So it's kind of like that risk reward type thing where, if you do really well, we're going to do really well. And that's why the no payments and the only sharing in the profit, it works both ways. So I think that's really, we're really geared towards growth. So there might be a cheaper, like if you get an SBA loan, you might be able to get a cheaper SBA loan than us. But if you really want to grow quickly and don't mind sharing in the profits with a partner, we're the best option for anyone that's trying to grow really quick.
What happens if everything goes horrifically wrong? So we partner up, got some cash influx and make a huge order, and then the account gets suspended or whatever, and it's done. Then are we on the hook?
Yeah, so we don't require any personal guarantees. There's no UCC lien. So unlike a bank or any one of the other guys who are going to probably come after you, whatever they'll do, we don't do that. What happens in any situation, whether it's a seller for a few months has been generating a profit and the money's going down, Don and I, the first thing we always do is reach out, set up a phone call, and try to get an understanding of what's going on here. why is the inventory, not selling through? Where's this wire that went to China or this supplier or whatever it was? What's going on with it? So we always try to get ahead of it. And, we're partners. So we want to protect, ourselves, but also the business and our partners. So we'll get on a phone and always work it out. So we've had, Dustin, probably 3 or 4 suspensions with some of our sellers. And it was there was a wave of just, related account suspensions. And it seemed like everyone was getting suspended for, a name was green and blue and, you were whatever. So we actually helped them draft, they want to go to these consultants that'll charge $5,000 for a little letter. We said, here, we've done this before. We know what works. We have a template. Let's put it together for you. And we actually got them unsuspended they didn't pay any money and they got unsuspended. So we really try very hard to work with our sellers and get ahead of any problems because of the way we can track everything with Amazon's API and all this technology. We can see everything in real time. So we try to get ahead. If there's going to be something like that, we try to get ahead of it. I mean, suspensions, you can't. It's just Amazon. It's Amazon being Amazon. But, we'll always talk to you and try to figure out a way to make it work for everybody. And thankfully, we've never really had that type of issue. So
we've given you some tough questions, and because we're just kind of suspect ourselves, but you've answered them really well. I want to kind of focus now on the positive side. Like you've obviously had some success stories. There's been sellers that come to you, and you've seen them grow using your type of service.
Right. Let's
circle back and let's touch on some of those. So if you can have any type of testimonial or type of stories, like Dustin and I are both sellers. People listening to this podcast are sellers. What's that look like? Like if you've obviously worked with sellers in the past. Let's touch a little bit on some of the good stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, one of our first partners that we worked with, we met them. They were a couple. They were selling on Amazon. They were doing about $50,000 in revenue, probably $10,000 in profit. Actually, it was $90,000 revenue, $10,000 in profit. So they came to us because they were looking for more capital. So in order to work with AccrueMe, and really if you're going to raise capital with any business, you have to be profitable already to start. You have to have profitability. If you take on debt and don't know, or any capital and don't know where you're going to put it to generate an ROI that's proven, you're going to have a problem, whether it's AccrueMe, a bank loan, or whatever it is. So if you're profitable, you know exactly where you want to spend the money to grow. I'm going to put in this product or work with this supplier or do this, PPC campaign or whatever it is. Then you just need capital. So they came to us, they did all their research on all the other guys out there, and they realized they actually asked their son-in-law, who's a finance guy, and he goes, it's too good to be true. If they're going to really give you that money and not require payments and only get a share of the profit, it's like free money. You might as well take it. And if and we joke sometimes, like, it's free money. Why are not as many people, jumping on this as they should? So we put together this case study, and after we doubled their capital, so they went from like 20,000 invested of their own savings, we gave them another 20. Within a month, they deployed it all into products, diversified over all their ASINs. They weren't heavy into one, which we see a lot. Sometimes people go way too heavy into one SKU or to one ASIN, and then for whatever reason, it goes bad for them. So they were diversified, they were profitable, they put the money right away to work. And a year later, I think they went from 90,000 and 10,000 in profit before us to they went to 340,000 and 45,000 in profit in a year, just by having the double capital. They were keeping most of it in the business, but they also, we understand a lot of the sellers we work with are bigger sellers, and they do this full time. This is their full-time job. They need to pay for a mortgage, a house payment. So they were taking capital out of the business and leaving hours in to keep growing, which we're totally fine with. So then they kept doing that. And then 2 years later, 18 months, and I remember because it was really just September of 2020, they did, their total numbers were just insane, like $800,000 in revenue and like $140,000 in profit 2 years later. And then they decided, okay, we're settling down a little bit. We have so much cash in the account. We don't really need your capital. We'll pay you down $10,000. We'll pay you down another $5,000. And they would just keep paying us down. And they still have, their business is now humongous compared to where it was. They have so much cash that, they don't need as much of ours. So they've been constantly paying us down. And probably by the end of this year, or maybe in a few months, we'll probably be totally out. But they'll have a much bigger sustainable business, and they won't need to take on any capital because they'll have built it all for themselves. So, I would say that's really good. But again, the key is profitability, knowing exactly when you raise money, whether it's AccrueMe or anybody, where you're going to put that money to generate a profit. That's the number one key. And then they came to us and made no payments, and they were able to grow like wildfire. So that's the perfect client for us. And, we love helping people get to that point. So.
Yeah, that's the tricky part. Like, you can get the funding, but now you as the owner, you gotta make smart decisions with it. You got to make sure you put it in the right areas. Totally.
Yeah. And that's why the first question I ask pretty much every time is, what's your plans? Do you want to sell the business? Do you want to grow the business? And if somebody says to me, our biggest problem is stock outs, or our biggest problem is I can't buy all the ASINs from this one supplier when I want to, I know they're going to be a good fit, and they're going to see it because they're going to immediately, they just need the money. They need to put it. That was this case I gave you. They knew exactly where to put it, and they put it. If somebody says, I have enough inventory, I'm just trying to find, what's your interest rate and what's your loan, they're not really focused on growth. They're focused more on, the minute details of stuff, and not just growing like crazy. And how do I get the money? Because I know I spoke to one guy, he sold car covers. He was like the first one. And he's like, yeah, I know if I have another 100,000, I'll turn it into 300. I just need another 100,000. I was like, okay. So someone like that, you're like, yeah, this would be great for you because you could just keep rolling it over. So that's really the key, is knowing exactly where to put it smartly, and don't, go too heavy into one ASIN or one product line. So.
Man, I could have used you in 2014.
No kidding.
I still want to hammer this point home for people who are listening, why this is so critical. If you're just now starting in the Amazon space, or if you're starting to grow, the thing with traditional lending is you get this money that, let's say you have to do for inventory, and you've got these large monthly payments. Well, you're laying that money out for the inventory. It might be 2.5 months before you even make a sale off that. I mean, it's got to be produced, it's got to be on the water, and you've got nothing coming in. And then these huge payments start coming. And even if you were able to survive that, at the end of the whole process, you're in the same boat you were in the first place. You don't have enough capital for your next order. And that's why this is so interesting to me. And really, I don't know if I would call what you are doing almost lending. It's almost investing. It's like you're investing in the business and helping it grow. So, I mean, that's why this is so fascinating to me, this space, and kudos to you guys for putting this together for sellers, because it can make or break it for people, this type of lending.
Right. Yeah. And you're totally right, Dustin. We've all, some of the other guys that I work with have a lot more experience in finance and raising money through traditional equity deals and venture capital and stuff like that. And I've had my experience too, but we really tried to make this as fair as possible. And the ultimate goal is growth of the business and growth of the profit. So that's the most important thing, is we know that if that happens for the business and for our sellers, we're going to do really well. The seller's going to do really well. It's a win-win, and it's totally different. And, sometimes we have a problem explaining to sellers. They do think, hey, it's too good to be true. I don't get the model. How are you going to calculate the profits? And, I understand the typical revenue share or whatever it is, or a loan, but this is so different and so unique that we're really trying to, get, and we appreciate you having us on and work the guys with you, like top industry experts that are working with profitable sellers that are using your tools to grow their business and get the word out of how amazing this could be for them if they're profitable already and they know exactly where they want to put the money and they want to grow. There's really nothing else like it.
Something that just really sucks, it just really, I hate doing, is like filling out all these forms and like having to do all these, what's your address and what credit score, and just all that stuff just takes forever, especially when you apply for funding. I'm on your site now, and you got this thing called the profit calculator. It's interactive. You can put capital you're going to put in, and the AccrueMe is going to put in. You can figure out the lead time and the ROI and all that. So it's really nice to kind of play around with. What's this? How's this work? And how can sellers use it to kind of get an idea of capital they really need?
Right. So the AccrueMe calculator, you basically put in, how much capital you have in your business now. So let's say you have $10,000 at FBA that you're turning over, and then how often are you turning over that inventory? Are you selling it through in a month, in 2 months and 3 months. And obviously the higher the term, the higher the profit, the more you're going to be able to make. Then you put in the lifestyle withdrawal is what we were talking about earlier. A lot of the sellers that are bigger sellers that are not doing this as a side hustle need to take money out for, living and vacations, maybe not so much nowadays, but normally, you have to take money out for whatever you need to live on. So that's what we call the lifestyle withdrawal. And then this calculator shows that if you add AccrueMe's capital and double it, our big assumption is that if you take on double the capital or whatever proportion of capital to what you have now, you need to be able to increase your revenue and profits by that amount. So if you take on, if you have 10 and you take on another 5, you need to increase it by the 30%. If you take on another, double the capital, you have to double your profits. And if we talk to sellers all the time who are like, yeah, I could double my profits or triple my profits if I stayed in stock and didn't lose my ranking or didn't do this stuff, and we have sellers like that all the time. Some people will say, you want me to double my profit overnight? And nothing's overnight. But just like the example I gave, if we give you the capital and you immediately invest it, in 2 to 4 months, we saw the change with our partner. It was really like a night and day change. It was 3 to 4 months, but they started on day one investing in profitable stuff. So this really just shows you as a hypothetical. You put in your numbers. I have 10,000 in capital. I want, another 5 or another 10 from AccrueMe. We'll double it. That's the most we'll go. And then you put in your ROI, your monthly ROI, and then the turn time of that product. And that will show you how it shows you 2 things. One, just the, what we call Einstein returns, the exponential growth, which is out of control. If you can keep reinvesting and keep growing, you'll see the numbers. And then 2, it shows you how AccrueMe's profit share, the way we set it up, where we get a half, basically we get the, and this is kind of the trickiest part to explain because it's so different. It's, we're 50% of the capital in most cases. We'll double the capital. We're 50-50. We don't want half the profits. We get half of whatever we represent. So if we're 50, we get 25. But that keeps, as you keep growing and keeping the lion's share, you'll see that just naturally, the way the math works, our profit goes down just because you're always getting more of the total pie until AccrueMe becomes a tiny, tiny percentage. So it shows you how you can grow and how AccrueMe's profit share naturally goes down just over time. So that's hopefully some easy display there.
It's good because you're playing with it. And then there's also, after I saw you play around with the calculator, there's a section here that says get a 3-minute, complete the 3-minute form. So it takes literally that long, and I wouldn't even call it that long. It takes 3 minutes to actually figure out and to get an instant funding. What type of questions are we looking at here for this 3-minute form?
Right. So we just ask for your basic information, your name, email, phone number, so we get in contact with you. And then we just want to get a sense of, how profitable you are. And again, this is all you just putting it in. So we'll verify it after if you decide to move forward. You put in how much capital you have in Amazon, your Amazon balance, because that's really the 2 places where most of our sellers derive what we match, whatever they have at FBA or a 3PL at cost and their Amazon balance. And then from there, we'll spit out a number. It's almost always lower. We like to give, a realistic expectation, then over deliver once we give you the actual, investment proposal if you decide to move forward. And from there, you would just give us access, just like everybody, to your Amazon account so we can see it. It's kept totally confidential. And it really just gives you an exact number of how much we can invest, what the profit share would look like, what the key terms of working with AccrueMe. And then we do a full inventory valuation based on our system. We develop what's called the brain. We had a bunch of really smart MBAs and data scientists from Columbia use Keepa data and Amazon to basically predict and model sales. And that's a great tool that we're actually releasing now to all of our seller partners that you put in an ASIN and it will predict how much profit you're going to make based on 90-day historicals from Keepa and how much to buy to sell through in 3 months. Because to us, the key is selling at a minimum of 10% ROI and turning it over every 3 months. So we have a tool that analyzes it. So it's always good for sellers that want to know, hey, how's my inventory doing? What do you guys think about it based on your model? They can run it through. It's no risk. It says on the page, non-binding, just to give you information. And it tells you how much we can invest if you want to move forward. So that's that process. And you can always set up a call with Don and I. We have tons of calls every week, whether you're a $10,000 seller or a $10 million seller. We love to talk to you guys, learn more about your business, and see if we can help.
It's fascinating. I mean, anybody out there listening right now that is in need of capital or in growth mode, I encourage you, go to AccrueMe.com and fill out that form for the funding. Get on a call with Sam. I mean, you can learn a lot just by getting on that call. And then, so going forward after that, how involved do you stay? Is it just based on the seller's, need with you guys? I mean, do you have weekly or monthly calls with them, or are you just monitoring through the platform, or how does that work, that relationship going forward?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Dustin. So it really depends. We have some sellers that we invest in them. We have some emails, when they need something, I send it to them right away and they go, "Oh, that was so fast. Thanks, Sam." That's the extent of our competition or, conversation. We have some sellers like that Don and I were on today. Every week we have a call for an hour talking about a product launch. What should you do about diversifying into this product? And we're not Amazon experts. We know about Amazon. We're in the business, but we're not, experts by any means, but we'll do anything we can or introduce people to anyone in our network to help them grow. So it's totally up to the seller. If they want to have a call every week, we're happy to do it. If they want to have a call every month, we're happy to do it. If they want to just take our money and, never speak to us until they, grow to 10X and then pay us back, we're totally fine with that. We're happy to, kind of form whatever they want to do.
I think that's the coolest part about this is having a partner like you're talking about. I can assure you my lender did not care about helping me one bit. They just wanted their payments back and they didn't care how I did it. And so having those resources, obviously your network grows, you're involved with so many sellers. So like you've said, you've seen suspensions, you've seen all these things, and you can help guide people towards the correct resources when those things, when some sort of impactful event like that happens to somebody. And I mean, that's can be just as valuable as the investment. I mean, that's right. Really helpful. I mean, right. So super simple. Somebody wants to come on, they just go to AccrueMe.com, fill out that form, and that starts the whole process. Is there anything that is sort of a necessary thing? Like, what about with my LLC or any of that nature? Is there anything that's sort of a stipulation that has to be covered?
Yeah. So in order for us to work with you, you have to be selling at least for 6 months on Amazon so we can see your account, that you have activity for 6 months, and that you're selling profitably. And we do all the analysis and stuff. So you don't have to give us financials or give us, any of that type of stuff. We do all the analysis through our engine. But you have to be selling for 6 months profitably. You have to be an LLC. If you don't have an LLC, it's not a showstopper. We have plenty of guys that have a corporation. They form an LLC in 2 days. It costs $400, and it's just a wholly owned subsidiary of their existing corporation. And that's really it. I think that the biggest thing is that if you're watching this and you know that if I had more capital that I could grow, and then you understand, well, if I had more capital, I could keep growing it, and then I don't have to make payments to a bank or to a lender, and I can keep it in the business, how quickly you can get to your goal, whether it's a sale or just turning it into a legacy business for yourself or your family or your partners. If you're ready to grow, then you want to go through app.accrueme.com, and you'll either be able to just give us access, which will generate a proposal for you, or you'll set up a call with myself and Don. They're half an hour to an hour calls. We just, talk about your business, what you're trying to accomplish, and then take you through the process that way. So yeah, definitely app.accrueme.com, and you can get started right there.
Everyone should do it. I mean, Don's great to talk to. I can tell you, because
Don is great. Yeah, Don's something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just a great partnership. So yes, it's, what'd you say, app.accrueme.com?
Yep. So if you go to AccrueMe.com, you'll see there'll be little buttons there everywhere to apply now or get a funding estimate. So, but app.accrueme.com is where you go directly to it.
This has been great, Sam. I mean, we'll have to have you on again down the road, because I know this landscape changes all the time. So I know you guys are going to come up with new stuff and new ways to help Amazon sellers out. But I mean, I can't tell you, if I was starting right now, if I was a seller starting right now, and I'm in that breaking point of I need capital launch, this is the direction I would go. I would never go with a traditional lending or even anything else, even like a taking out an equity, like a line of credit, even that. I mean, this is just, it's just smoother. It's an investment. There's less risk. It's the way to go. So I encourage everyone to absolutely do that. AccrueMe.com. Any other ways they can reach you, Sam? You on LinkedIn? Where else can they find you?
Yep. So I'm on LinkedIn, and if you want to just shoot me an email, you can just sam@accrueme.com. That's my direct email. I respond to everybody, whether you're a $10,000 seller, $1 million seller, happy to set up a call, just learn more about you and see if we can help. So
everyone do it. Get in contact with Sam right now. And we'll definitely have you back on again. For everyone who's listening, thank you so much for listening. And if this is something that you're interested in, get in touch with Sam. If you like this content, make sure that you like the Solozo page on Facebook and the Solozo YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so that you know when we go live. We go live every day with these episodes. If you like listening in the podcast format, we're on every podcast platform out there. 2 Amazon sellers and a microphone. Subscribe to us. Leave us a review. You can leave an honest review. We'll stick with the Amazon theme, all about honest reviews. And we do it every day. So we will be back at this again tomorrow, everybody. Sam, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Dustin. Thank you, Kris. Really appreciate you having me.